Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with the big talk of the big UFC fight coming up. Of course, this is going to be UFC 182. This is probably going to be the biggest UFC pay-per-view of the year, and for any sort of wrestling and MMA fan, it's probably going to be one of the biggest days in the history of professional wrestling and MMA. Back-to-back, you have UFC coming to you with 182, and you have an hour intermission, and then we go right to Japan for wrestling live from the Tokyo Dome. This will be the first time I'm checking out Japanese wrestling since being a tape trader back in the day and accidentally getting a tape and not being in love with it. But being a subscriber to the Wrestling Observer for the last good little while, I really am looking forward to seeing the Jon Jones fight going up against Daniel Cormier, and then having a little bit of an intermission, and going right into watching New Japan on the New Japan World app, and seeing what goes on from there. The Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier is one of the biggest hype fights we've seen in a long time. Jon Jones, one of the best UFC fighters of all time. This guy, honestly, in my opinion, should be undefeated. He's a guy that was disqualified in one match for illegal elbow shots, but from going back and watching that fight, I think that was a bad referee stoppage, and I definitely think that Jon Jones definitely should be undefeated. To talk about this fight, we must go all the way back to Jon Jones' history, talking about the UFC 165. Jon Jones going up against Alexander Gustafsson. That was at UFC 165. This was the fight where Jon Jones badly got cut above the eye in the very first round, and he had to fight all the way back to come from behind and win this fight. This fight was went the distance and went the decision. It's been debated back and forth about whether if Gustafsson didn't get the benefit of the doubt and Jones got the victory, and it just shouldn't have gone the other way. I honestly think that Jon Jones won the fight. I think that Gustafsson really did put up a good fight against Jon Jones, and does deserve to get a rematch somewhere down the line. And the fact that he hasn't gotten a rematch really is a little bit of a crime. The fact that this match was even sort of scheduled, and Jon Jones was able to talk Dana White out of not giving Gustafsson the fight and saying he wanted to fight Daniel Cormier, to me, honestly, it is. I don't know really what to say. Why Dana White would give Jon Jones all of this sort of freedom to pick when and who he wants to fight, and how it goes from there. But that fight at UFC 165, it doesn't matter if you want to call it an instant classic, an epic fight, the fight of the year, whatever it was. This fight has won tons of awards. It's one of the best light heavyweight championship fights of all time. It is the fight that put Jon Jones over Tito Ortiz for the most consecutive title defenses for a UFC light heavyweight champion. And from there, Jon Jones went on to beat Glover Teixeira at UFC 169. That was a good fight. It was a highly, really big, excited fight. And this was another fight that sort of Jon Jones. I don't really know if you can put this on Jon Jones, if this was on him or how it was supposed to be. But basically, this was a fight that was scheduled for 169. Then it got pushed to 170. It got pushed to 171, and then finally, these guys actually did have a fight on 172. From there, Dana White, I don't know if he was listening or if he just wanted to see this fight again because of how well this went in 2013. Basically, he announced that Gustafsson was going to be the #1 contender. From there, basically, they signed up to have this fight, only to have Jon Jones say that he wasn't going to sign. He didn't want to fight, and that he wanted to fight Daniel Cormier instead. This fight was finally put together after basically Dana White said, forget it, Jon Jones, you're not going to get what you want. We're going to have this fight at UFC 178, and Jon Jones, I guess, finally put his foot down, and he signed it for the fight. That was going to be at 178. Then after that, Gustafsson was forced to pull out due to a torn meniscus, and Jon Jones got his way in the end, basically with Daniel Cormier filling in and being the guy who was there to step up at 178. Then after that, Jon Jones, he sustained a leg injury, forcing the fight to be bumped from 178 all the way down to 182. Why at this point they didn't pull the original fighter back into the mix and say that John Jones was now going to fight Gustafsson, who's now healthy and ready to look for a fight. They're sticking with Daniel Cormier. I think that the fact is, they're playing off the fact of when they had the big deal to sort of push this fight. It was Daniel Cormier and John Jones jawing words back and forth, getting a fight during the press conference to sort of to tear everything up. This is the thing that basically got John Jones' Nike deal stripped away. He lost a 6-figure income just for trying to hawk some tennis shoes and some sweatshirts and things like that. Daniel Cormier and John Jones have gone back and forth in various media interviews, basically with John Jones being called fake and basically, trying to, live up to this persona of being this super nice guy when off camera he's this, virtuous big asshole that everybody in UFC knows he is. I think that when it comes down to it at UFC 182, this is going to be one hell of a fight. I think that I really am looking forward to this more than any fight that I've ever been there. I know that John Jones isn't my favorite fighter in my young UFC career. I really like Conor McGregor, who's going to be fighting in a few weeks after this fight. But definitely, you can cut the tension with a knife, to steal from Gorilla Monsoon. When he's talking about like Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. I don't think that Daniel Cormier is one of the best UFC fighters of all time, but there's something when I listen to John Jones speak about this fight, he doesn't seem 100% confident about going into this fight. I think that Daniel Cormier could put up a fight against John Jones. John Jones, of course, he's overcome great odds. If you go back and you think about the fight where basically he broke his toe, and his toe was sticking way off to the side, and there was a good chance that if he didn't knock him out, Chael Sonnen in that fight, that was at UFC 159, that basically John Jones was going to lose, and he would lose his championship basically just due to a technicality. But he was able to, TKO Chael Sonnen there in the first round right before the end of the round. More than likely, if it would have went to the extra 30 seconds, the round would have ended. A doctor would have stepped in and told him that he wasn't going to be able to keep going. But it's just one of the magical things about John Jones. So we're going to have to see what goes down with this fight. Honestly, it's probably going to be one of the fights of the year. I know that UFC stepped up and said that they were bumping the price of the pay-per-view $5. At the end of the day, I think $5 makes this show $70. $70 for UFC, honestly, in my mind, is pretty expensive. But when it comes down to it, more than likely, everybody's going to have, people coming over to the house, everybody throwing money into the bucket, and it's probably going to, make it not as bad as it could be. When you're looking at the card, there's a lot of guys on here that I don't know who they are. Donald Cerrone is the guy that I remember his name. I don't know who he is. He's going to be fighting. And then everybody else throughout the card are people that I honestly just don't know. And we'll have to see where we go from there. Even on the preliminary card is people that I have no clue who they are. But every time I watch UFC, there's always somebody who sticks out in my mind that I want to make sure that I've seen again. And I'm really pumped for the Conor McGregor fight in a few weeks from here on out. So it's just sort of pushing us in that new direction of UFC, getting super fight cards. So, it sort of sucks, when you think about the great UFC shows from 2005 and 2006. They were really good because they didn't have as many shows. Now UFC, basically has, Fight Pass. They've got shows that are on Fox Sports 1 and just about almost, it seems like every other weekend. You've got pay-per-views that they're trying to book, and it's just like you don't have super cards anymore. You might get one fight in the main event, and you might get another fighter on the undercard that you might know, but very rarely do you get really like a guaranteed fight. Like, this is a show that you must see, but somehow this John Jones versus Daniel Cormier fight has that feel of something that we got to see this. We got to check this out. So I'm pumped. I hope you guys are pumped. Let's talk about it in the comment section down below.